General C.Q. Brown and the military's DEI problem, a hard look at his legacy. As chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Charles Q. CQ. Brown Jr. was the highest-ranking military officer in the United States, the primary military advisor to the President, the Secretary of Defense, and the National Security Council. His influence extended far beyond strategy and operations. He played a crucial role in shaping the Air Force's policies, particularly regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. Under his tenure, DEI initiatives became deeply embedded in military culture, leading to radical shifts in recruitment, training, and even the way service members were expected to communicate. Brown was instrumental in pushing for policies that allowed transgender service members to serve openly and receive taxpayer-funded gender transition treatments. He supported integrating gender-neutral language in training programs and official military communications, enforcing pronoun preferences, and restructuring leadership pipelines to prioritize equitable representation over merit-based promotion. These are not the actions of a passive participant in a trend. These are the actions of someone actively engaged in reshaping the culture of the U.S. military. Now let's cut through the media noise surrounding his removal. The mainstream narrative is predictable. Brown was dismissed because he was a DEI hire, and even more absurdly, some have claimed that his removal was purely due to his race, opening the door for him to sue Trump for discrimination. This kind of framing is intellectually dishonest at best and outright manipulative at worst. The left often conflates legally established civil rights protections with the much newer ideological framework of DEI. But the reality is that long before the term diversity, equity, and inclusion was coined in the 1980s by Lewis Brown Griggs in an academic setting, the United States already had legal protections ensuring equal opportunity. These include the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Equal Pay Act of 1963, the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, the Age Discrimination Act of 1975, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. DEI supporters online have worked hard to rewrite history, falsely claiming that the term is rooted in the civil rights movement of the 1960s. This is a classic sleight-of-hand trick, a way to make DEI seem like a continuation of those hard-fought battles, when in reality it is something entirely different. DEI is not about ensuring equal rights. It is about redistributing opportunities based on a Marxist ideology of equitable representation rather than equal representation. Let's break that down. Equal representation means that opportunities are given fairly based on the available pool of qualified applicants without artificially elevating or suppressing certain groups. Equitable representation means forcibly adjusting outcomes by taking special statuses into account, artificially boosting some groups while sidelining others, regardless of actual qualifications or merit. The military, like any institution built on performance and discipline, cannot afford to prioritize anything over competence. And yet, under Brown's leadership, the Air Force and other branches saw a growing emphasis on identity politics, with the result being exactly what DEI claims to oppose, systemic discrimination, only now aimed at a different target. So was his removal justified? Absolutely. The media and DEI advocates want to make this about race because they need a scapegoat to distract from the real issue. Brown played a pivotal role in allowing an anti-American ideology to take root in the armed forces. A doctrine that undermines meritocracy, weakens unit cohesion, and prioritizes ideological conformity over military effectiveness. Now, to be fair, the civilian leadership, especially under the Biden administration and the Department of Defense, deserves just as much blame, if not more. The Pentagon has been one of the biggest drivers of woke policies infiltrating the military, and the Secretary of Defense has been fully on board with these changes. But Brown had a choice. He could have resisted. He could have spoken out. Instead, he embraced the agenda and actively helped implement it. That makes him culpable. The bottom line is this. If we are serious about maintaining a strong and effective military, we cannot allow ideological experiments to dictate its policies. Brown's removal was not just justified, it was necessary. And if we don't push back against the forces that enabled these policies in the first place, removing him will be nothing more than a temporary reprieve. This is not about politics. This is about national security, and anyone who truly understands what's at stake should see that clearly.